Swadika, good morning and welcome to Newsline. We are broadcasting live on NBT, Radio Thailand, FM 88 and also on NBT World. It's great to have you joining us this morning, Wednesday, January 21st. My name is Cholapansa Narula. In today's Thailand Moves Forward, members of the cabinet have been informed of the current situation in the three southern border provinces of Thailand. Speaking after the weekly cabinet meeting on Tuesday, Army spokesperson Colonel Winthai Suwari made known that Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha, along with his cabinet ministers, was briefed on the matter of national security, which is overseen by the National Council for Peace and Order. According to the spokesperson, the overall situation in the country is considered normal, as there have been no political movements that could stir conflicts or cause social divide. Furthermore, he said the cabinet was notified of the current situation in the restive south and the NCPO's measures to restore peace and prevent losses in the violence-torn area, which have proven effective, given that the number of violent incidents has been reduced by half. As for the pending impeachment case filed against former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra, Colonel Winthai said the NCPO will keep a watchful eye on her supporters, adding that so far no violence has been reported. The cabinet has given the green light to an import of 50,000 tons of palm oil to tackle the shortage problem, while assuring farmers of the government's effort to cushion the price of their produce. According to Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Cooperatives Amnoi Patise, a decision has been made by the cabinet to purchase a total of 50,000 tons of palm oil from overseas, as proposed by the National Oil Palm Policy Committee. The import will be carried out by the Public Warehouse Organization under regular procedures beginning this February. Following protests by palm oil planters who feared that the import would push down the price of their palm produce, Mr. Amnoi affirmed that the cabinet made the decision while taking all potential impacts into account. In a bid to safeguard the farmers against a price decline, the cabinet resolved to offer them a minimum price guarantee at 5 baht per kilogram. But the private sector has expressed discontent with the cabinet's decision to import 50,000 tons of palm oil, fearing it will lead to an oversupply. President of the Palm Oil Farmers Association of Thailand, Manat Puttarat, submitted a letter to the Prime Minister asking the government to delay importing the palm oil. The President said ripe palm oils would enter the market more in February, making it possible that the imports would lead to an oversupply. He added that the palm oil from other countries had lower quality than the domestically grown ones. Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Cooperatives, Mr. Amnoi Patise, said the imports had been proposed by the National Palm Oil Policy Committee. If Thailand did not import palm oil to meet with a demand of 200,000 tons, there would be a shortage of palm oil in February this year. The Public Warehouse Organization will be distributing the imported palm oil to the private sector. The National Reform Council has agreed that the members of the public must be encouraged to think for themselves and be more service-minded. After the two-day vision workshop, members of the reform body Khematat Sukhonthasingh and Manun Siriwan disclosed the results of the gathering, saying the NRC must lay down strategies that are in accordance with today's world, which means its reform plan must be modernized and applicable. They went on to say that Thai people must dare to think and be able to decide what is best for themselves and the nation, and that the Thai citizens should be service-minded in order for the country to move forward. As for the economy, the members said strategies pertaining to economic stimulus must aim to eliminate inequality and focus mainly on innovation. Speaking about politics, they said power should be decentralized, monitoring of state power must be effective, and corruption must be entirely wiped out. According to the Constitution Drafting Committee, the to-be-drafted charter will illegalize all forms of hate speech, while affirming that doing so will not violate the right to freedom of speech. Spokesperson to the Constitution Drafting Committee, or CDC, Kamnoon Sithisaman, said the Charter Rewrite Committee has agreed that a content concerning hate speeches will be included in the new constitution, banning all speeches that are offensive and create hatred and conflicts. He said during the past decade, Thailand has been encountering political unrest, which stems from words and speeches made by particular groups with an attempt to stir conflict and violence within the society. He, however, noted that the permanent constitution is not a solution to our problems, given that whether or not Thailand will be peaceful and prosperous depends on its people. He added that everyone is entitled to their opinions, but that does not mean people with differing viewpoints cannot live in the same community peacefully. Lastly, the spokesperson gave an assurance that barring hate speeches does not breach the right of free speech, but instead disallows verbal expressions that will cause social divide. The National Anti-Corruption Commission, or NACC, have agreed to press criminal charges against former Commerce Minister Bunsong Teriyapirom and his deputy for alleged corruption in government-to-government or G2G deals under the RISE pledging scheme. The National Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Wicha Mahakun, said that the Commission indicted Mr. Bunsong and his deputy, Poom Sarapon, and 21 more people and would investigate more than 100 rice trading companies. The NACC also agreed to ask the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Commerce, and the Department of Foreign Trade to sue the alleged companies for 600 billion baht. The Revenue Department would inspect tax payment of such companies, said the official. Former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra is facing an impeachment charge filed against her by the NACC as well, and that's on grounds of corruption in the rice pledging program. The National Legislative Assembly will likely vote this Friday whether to impeach her. For people who are looking to save their money, there's an option for you now. And let's hear this report on a recent government saving bond from Kun Lisnari Wititsarasat.
The government has opened a savings bond called Sukantarao, or translated in English means let's be happy. The bond is issued by the Ministry of Finance and the Bank for Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives. If you have some money to spare, you can decide if you'd like to buy the savings bond. For the savings bond issued by Ministry of Finance, the bond saving period is 10 years with a step-up interest of around 4% per year. The Bank for Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives also offers the same government bond with a 5-year deposit period and an interest of 3.8% per year. NBT World interviewed Dr. Pim Pen Latpli, senior expert on bond market development of the Public Debt Management Office, to ask her if the savings bond is worth buying.
Well, actually, savings bond was initiated about 15 years ago. It was one of the government main instruments in fundraising. And I think in terms of portfolio, it would be very healthy if we have retail savers and the resident of Thailand invest in the savings bond. And it will, because there will be very important investor base for us. And on the other hand, what are the people getting from invest in savings bond? That is because savings bond, especially the government issued bond, it is the safest bond in Thailand. So if they want to invest in something very secure in terms of getting interest payment on time and being returned with the capital of the principal on time, government savings bond answer all of these issues. Okay, for this particular bond, well, like I said, the total aggregate is 100 billion in total size, but there are two issuers. 50 of these, or half of these, is issued by the government, and that is 10 years tenure. And the other half, the other 50 billion, is being issued by BAAC, or Bank of Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives. So, and that is 5 years tenure. As of now, for the past 6 days, the sales of BAAC is 28 billion. Out of 50, so, and that is 56% of the sales. But for the government, and that is 10 years tenure, the sales is about 10 billion out of 50 billion. So that is about 20% only.
The savings bond Sukantarao is available at Bangkok Bank, Krung Thai Bank, Kasikorn Bank, SCB Bank, and Bank for Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives until this Friday. So if you want to deposit your money long-term with low-risk results, this could be one of your options.
Well, it looks to be good with quite an interesting interest rate for the bonds of the government. Moving along, the government revealed that the first week of the orchid market set up on a roadside near the government house during January 19 till the 21st is bustling with buyers, both the general public and also government officials. According to the government spokesperson, Captain Yongyut Mayalap, the total export value of Thai orchid trees during January to November last year increased from the same period of 2013, but the value of cut orchid exports was not following the trend. He explained that the changing situation of the market's demand has prompted the need for the government and the related private sector to improve the quality of orchids in terms of species diversity, packaging design, transportation, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, which are the difficulties facing Thai orchid exports. The orchid market is organized on the road along the Padung Krung Kasem Canal, which is in front of the government house, until January 21st from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. In the weeks afterwards, the market will open on Mondays to Wednesdays until the end of March. The Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives will also hold campaigns to promote domestic sales and exports of orchids in the central provinces, which are the producers of orchids, such as Nakhon Pathom, Ratchaburi, Kanchanaburi, Samut Sakhon, Bangkok, Nonthaburi, Pathum Thani, Ayutthaya, Suphanburi and Chonburi. The campaigns will continue until September 2016. The Muslims for Peace Foundation is planning to ask the UN Refugee Agency to help Rohingyas falling prey to human traffickers. Nakhon Si Thammarat residents in Huasai district have donated their money to help Rohingyas. The proceeds collected at a Muslim mosque will be given to a human rights center. 95 Rohingya refugees were intercepted on January 11th in Huasai district. They were reportedly crammed in trucks when they were found. 2 drivers were charged with human trafficking. The foundation will be submitting a letter to the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees asking for international assistance. Huasai Police Chief Police Colonel Prawit Chantabat said the investigation would be concluded quickly before they are sent to the care of the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security. According to the Commerce Ministry, Thailand achieved its highest ever rice export volume of 10.8 million tons last year, enabling the country to reclaim its crown as the world's largest rice exporter. The target for this year is to continue the huge export volume in a range of 10 million to 11 million tons. Commerce Minister General Chatchai Sarikalaya said that 10.8 million tons of rice, that's valued about 5.37 billion US dollars or 174.8 billion baht, were shipped overseas last year. And this was some 64% higher than the 2013 level of 6.6 million tons and 22% above last year's value of 4.42 billion US dollars. Now some news on apples. The National Bureau of Agricultural Commodity and Food Standards, or ACFS, said no imported apples distributed by American companies are found contaminated here in Thailand. The ACFS has taken samples of American apples, especially the suspected Gala and Granny Smith varieties, from stores in Bangkok and its vicinity. Results show no Baidat Bros apples have been imported into Thailand. The ACFS affirms that imported apples are usually tested for listeria to assure safety for consumers before they are delivered to supermarkets. Moreover, the ACFS has instructed modern trade supermarkets to examine its apple stocks and immediately return them if any of them belong to Baidat Bros. The action followed reports of bacteria outbreak in caramel apples distributed by Baidat Bros in the U.S. 2 weeks ago. The bacteria, known as listeria, can cause life-threatening illnesses. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention claimed at least 7 people were killed by listeria. The bacteria were reportedly found at the company's facility in California. America is recalling Granny Smith and Gala apples following the discovery. And the National Broadcasting and Telecommunication Commission, or NBTC, is seeking to put telephone cables in Bangkok underground as the Metropolitan Electricity Authority will no longer allow additional telecom cables to be carried on electricity poles. The NBTC met with representatives from telecom companies and the MEA to discuss the issue of telecom cables that are routed alongside electric cables on electricity poles after the MEA's refusal to allow installation of additional telecom cables on electricity poles had become an issue, with telecom companies seeking to increase bandwidth and also channels. The MEA was relocating all its power cables in Bangkok underground along roads instead of seeing that on electricity poles. According to the NBTC, it will either have the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration or the state-owned telecom companies TOT and CAT or CAT invest in the underground telecom cables. Private companies will then be able to rent the cables, which will be put at a depth of 60 centimeters. Electric cables will sit further down at a depth of 2 meters. NBTC officials indicated that regulations of relevant agencies will need modification to facilitate the underground cables, and at least 10 billion baht of budget is expected to be required to put the telecom cables underground. Failure to quickly put the cables underground will have direct consequences upon the digital economy strategy being pursued by the government, as telecom businesses are currently unable to expand their networks due to the limited number of cables available. And that's it for Thailand Moves Forward, but don't go away just yet. When Newsline returns after taking this short break, we'll have a look at the international news. But before the break, of course, this is the exchange rates and commodity prices coming right up on your screens.
A strong nation, Thailand is promoting 12 core values for the good of the people. The 10th core value: applying His Majesty the King's sufficiency economy, saving money for a time of need, being moderate with surplus for sharing or expansion of business.
How could you do that to me? Stop it! Huh? Don't you get it? I don't need you anymore. Enough! We're through. There's someone else in my life.
Say no to the past. Bring your own bag. Say no to plastic.
Faithful Buddhists are invited to donate to the building of a huge Buddha statue known as Praputta Metta. It's to be constructed at Tepratown Temple, Soi Dao, Jantaburi. With a 20,000 baht donation, the donor's name will be engraved on the foundations of the statue. Those wishing to contribute may make their donations at the Royal Thai Embassy or at the Consulate General in each country, 7-Eleven convenience stores and stores with counter service signs, Rung Thai Bank, Siam Commercial Bank or Bangkok Bank. Please contact the phone numbers shown for more details.
Welcome back. Indonesia Transport Minister Ignatius Jonan proposed a number of changes to improve safety standards to Parliament after a crash of AirAsia airliner which killed 162 people on board. According to the minister, one of the measures include the regulation that would dictate airlines to obtain route permits 4 months before the flight, and airlines will not be allowed to sell tickets before that. The pledge was made yesterday amid the search for the remaining missing bodies from Air Asia Indonesia's crashed jet. So far, only 53 bodies have been recovered. Last week, the search team was able to locate the plane's fuselage, but has yet been unable to lift it from the bottom of the Java Sea. And citing radar data after investigations, the minister said the flight QZ-8501 climbed too fast before stalling. No passenger or fighter jet would attempt to climb so fast at 6,000 feet a minute, he said. The plane is thought to have encountered difficulties from a storm. And head of the National Search and Rescue Agency, Bambang Solistyo, said that he might soon announce the operation closure but would continue the search and rescue effort daily. He said the operation would officially close if his team is able to recover the fuselage before January 27th. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said on Tuesday that the threat to the lives of two purported Japanese captives by Islamic State militants was unacceptable. Abe was speaking at a news conference with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah as part of a multi-nation visit to the Middle East. Abbas also condemned the act, saying, "We received the news about the kidnapping of two Japanese citizens by a radical terrorist group. Here we re-emphasize our condemnation and our complete rejection of horrible acts like this that contradict all the values and rules and human ethics." Earlier on Tuesday, Abe held a news conference in Jerusalem where he vowed to exert efforts to save the lives of the captives. The Islamic State group, which holds territory in Iraq and Syria, issued a video online purporting to show two Japanese captives and demanding $200 million from the Japanese government to save their lives. Tensions were high in the Yemeni capital Sana'a yesterday, with residents expressing their fear following fierce clashes on Monday, some of the worst the city had seen in years. And the latest news says that rebels have overtaken the presidential palace in Sana'a. At least 9 people were killed and 90 wounded during the violence on Monday. Later yesterday, renewed clashes began at the residence of President Abd Rabbu Mansur Hadi after what the information minister called militias seeking to overthrow the ruling system entered the presidential palace. Officials stated on Twitter that the president's house had been subject to shelling by armed elements stationed at nearby homes, without specifically naming the Houthi fighters who fought artillery battles with government forces on Monday. An official told the media, however, that the president is in the residence and he is fine. Zambians went to the polls to elect their next leaders yesterday. The next leader yesterday in a tight race between a populist lawyer and a wealthy economist after the former President Michael Sata died in office last year. Mr. Edgar Lungu, leader of the ruling Patriotic Front, is seen as having a slight edge over Mr. Haikande Hichilema, a businessman whose United Party for National Development has wooed the middle class and investors. The Director of Electoral Commission of Zambia said heavy rains battered many parts of the landlocked country on the polling day, which could potentially delay the vote counting. However, Mr. Hichilema's team has already complained about ballot papers not being received in some UPND strongholds and pockets of violence against their supporters, raising the likelihood that a PF or Patriotic Front victory could be contested. With another election due late next year, when the late President Sata's term would have ended, had he not died in October, whoever wins will have little time to turn around a stuttering economy in one of Africa's most promising frontier markets. And that concludes today's edition of Newsline. If you do have any suggestions or comments, please email them to us, newsline.nbt@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and our website, thainews.prd.go.th/newseng. Let's have a look at something beautiful to end the program today. We'll take you to Nan Province, and there is the vintage bike exhibition taking place. I'm Chalapan Sanarula. See you next time. Swadee ka.